Here is the rewritten script, maintaining the original content, logic, and length while following your specific formatting instructions. You probably have a brown bottle of hydrogen peroxide sitting in your medicine cabinet right now, collecting dust. Most people buy it, use it once to clean a scrape, and then it sits there for months, maybe years.
Let's
But
see
what
what
if I
solution A
told you
does.
that this cheap,
Whoa,
unassuming
it's sparkling.
liquid could be the single most useful thing you bring out to your garden this year? It costs about $1 at most drugstores, and yet
Homemade
it can
plant
do
food versus
things that
expensive and unnecessary commercial
fertilizers,
fertilizers.
pesticides, and fungicides promise to do, but often fall short on.
Hydrogen peroxide has the formula
peroxide, called
H2O2.
H2O2 by
It can break down.
scientists, is basically water with an extra oxygen atom attached. Water is H2O, 2 hydrogen atoms, and 1 oxygen. Hydrogen peroxide is H2O2, 2 hydrogen atoms and 2 oxygen atoms. That one tiny extra atom makes all the difference. When it breaks down, it does not leave behind any toxic residue. It simply turns back into water and oxygen. That is it. No harmful chemicals sitting in your soil. No runoff poisoning your local waterways. It is about as eco-friendly as a garden product can get. And here is the thing most people do not realize. Hydrogen peroxide actually occurs naturally in the environment. It is found in rainwater, in rivers, and believe it or not, plants themselves produce small amounts of it. Research published by the National Institutes of Health has shown that H2O2 plays a role in regulating plant growth, development, and defense responses. So when you use it in the garden, you are not introducing some foreign chemical. You are giving your plants something they already know how to work with. Gardeners have been quietly using this stuff for years, and once you hear what it can do, you will never look at that little brown bottle the same way again. So let's get into it. If you've ever planted seeds and waited, and nothing happened, you know how frustrating that can be. Sometimes seeds just don't want to cooperate. They sit in the soil doing absolutely nothing while you're out there watering and hoping for the best. Here's where hydrogen peroxide comes in. Soaking your seeds in a diluted hydrogen peroxide solution before planting can actually help them sprout faster. The extra oxygen in the solution helps soften the outer seed coat, which makes it easier for water to penetrate and kick-start the germination process. On top of that, it disinfects the surface of the seed, killing off any bacteria, mold, or fungal spores that might be lurking on the outside. To do this, mix 1 TSP of regular 3% hydrogen peroxide into about a cup of water. Drop your seeds in and let them soak for around 30 minutes to an hour. Then, rinse them off with clean water and allow them to dry and plant as you normally would. Gardeners who use this method often report faster sprouting times, especially with older seeds or varieties that have tough outer shells, like morning glories or moonflowers. Some gardeners have even reported getting stubborn seeds to sprout in just a few days using this trick, when they normally would have taken a week or more. If you have a bag of seeds from last year that you are not sure are still good, this is definitely worth trying before you give up on them. Healthy roots need oxygen. That's something a lot of gardeners don't think about. We focus so much on watering, sunlight, and nutrients that we forget the roots also need to breathe. When soil gets compacted, especially heavy clay soil, the air pockets get squeezed out, and the roots start to suffocate. Watering your plants with a diluted hydrogen peroxide solution can help with this. When the hydrogen peroxide reaches the soil and starts to break down, it releases oxygen right at the root zone. This gives the roots a little extra breathing room and helps them absorb nutrients more efficiently. A simple mix of 1 TSP of 3% hydrogen peroxide per cup of water, applied during your regular watering routine once a week or so, can help keep the soil loose and oxygenated. Your plants will respond with stronger growth, healthier stems, and a much more vigorous root system. It's especially useful for container plants and raised beds where soil compaction tends to sneak up on you. Fungal diseases are one of the biggest headaches a gardener can face. Powdery mildew, downy mildew, black spot on roses. These problems can spread through your garden like wildfire if you do not catch them early. And many commercial fungicides contain chemicals that a lot of us would rather not spray on our food or flowers. Hydrogen peroxide is a natural oxidizer, which means it can destroy the cell walls of fungi on contact. Spraying a diluted solution on affected leaves can help stop fungal infections from spreading. Mix about 1 TSP of 3% hydrogen peroxide with 8 Oz of water and put it in a spray bottle. Spray it directly on the affected areas of your plants, making sure to hit both the tops and undersides of the leaves. Do this in the early morning or late evening to avoid the strong midday sun, which can cause the solution to evaporate too quickly. Repeat every few days until you see improvement. Nobody wants to share their tomatoes with aphids, and don't even get me started on spider mites. These tiny pests can do an incredible amount of damage to your plants if left unchecked. Spraying your plants with a light hydrogen peroxide solution can help deter a range of common garden pests. Aphids, mites, and other sap-sucking insects tend to avoid plants that have been treated with it. When sprayed directly on pest eggs, the solution can even destroy them before they have a chance to hatch. Just keep in mind that hydrogen peroxide does not discriminate. It can also affect beneficial insects, so use it as a targeted treatment rather than a blanket spray across your entire garden. Focus on the plants that are actually showing signs of pest damage and try to avoid spraying flowers where pollinators like bees and butterflies are active. Think of it as a precision tool, not a bomb. A little restraint goes a long way in keeping the good bugs around while getting rid of the ones causing problems. This one is so simple, yet most people never think to do it. Your pruning shears, trowels, and garden scissors can carry disease from one plant to another without you even realizing it. Every time you cut a diseased branch and then move on to a healthy plant, you are potentially spreading the problem. Hydrogen peroxide is an excellent disinfectant for garden tools. Just pour some 3% hydrogen peroxide onto a clean cloth and wipe down the blades of your tools between uses. Or, for a more thorough cleaning, soak the metal parts of your tools in hydrogen peroxide for a few minutes, then rinse and dry them. This is especially important during pruning season and when you are dealing with any kind of plant disease in the garden. It takes about 30 seconds and can prevent a lot of heartache down the road. Think about it. If you had a bacterial infection on one rose bush and you used the same shears on 5 other bushes without cleaning them, you could have 6 sick plants instead of 1. It is one of those small habits that makes a huge difference over the course of a growing season. If you've ever had houseplants or a greenhouse, you've probably dealt with fungus gnats. Those tiny black flies that hover around the surface of your plant soil are more than just annoying. Their larvae live in the top layer of soil and feed on organic matter and plant roots, which can weaken your plants over time, especially seedlings and young transplants. Hydrogen peroxide is one of the most effective and easy ways to get rid of them. When you water your plants with a hydrogen peroxide solution, it fizzes up in the soil as it releases oxygen. This fizzing action kills the larvae on contact without harming the plant roots. Mix 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide with 4 parts water and use it to water the affected plants. You should see the fizzing right away, which means it is working. Do this for a couple of watering sessions and the gnats should be gone. It is a whole lot safer and cheaper than most commercial insecticides, and it actually works better in many cases. Some gardeners even say hydrogen peroxide is more effective against fungus gnats than diatomaceous earth because it does not just treat the problem on the surface, it goes down into the soil where the larvae are hiding and takes them out at the source. This is the big one, and it might just rescue a plant you thought was done for. Root rot is one of the most common killers of garden and houseplants, and it usually happens because of overwatering. When roots sit in waterlogged soil for too long, they start to decay. Harmful bacteria and fungi move in, and before you know it, the roots turn brown and mushy. The plant starts wilting, dropping leaves and looking like it is on its last legs. Most people assume the plant is a goner at that point, but hydrogen peroxide can actually bring it back. Here is why. When you pour a diluted hydrogen peroxide solution into the soil, the extra oxygen it releases creates an environment that is hostile to the anaerobic bacteria, causing the rot. At the same time, it delivers a burst of oxygen to the suffocating roots, helping them start to recover. To treat root rot, mix 1 TBSP of 3% hydrogen peroxide per cup of water. Remove the plant from its pot if possible, and trim away any visibly dead or mushy roots with clean scissors or shears. You will know which roots are bad because they will be brown, slimy, and they will practically fall apart when you touch them. Healthy roots should be white or light-colored and firm. Repot the plant in fresh, well-draining soil and water it thoroughly with the hydrogen peroxide solution. Continue using this mix once a week until the plant shows signs of new growth. Going forward, make sure you are not watering too frequently. Let the top inch or so of soil dry out between waterings and make sure your pots have drainage holes so water is not pooling at the bottom. The hydrogen peroxide will get you out of trouble, but good watering habits will keep you from getting into trouble in the first place. This method has saved countless plants that were on the verge of death. It is one of the best-kept secrets in gardening, and it is the reason experienced gardeners always keep a bottle of hydrogen peroxide within arm's reach. Part 2. Used pots and containers can harbor all kinds of nasty stuff: bacteria, fungal spores, insect eggs, and even viruses. If you are reusing pots from last season, or if you picked up some second-hand containers from a yard sale, cleaning them before planting is absolutely essential. Hydrogen peroxide makes this task quick and easy. Fill a bucket or basin with a solution of 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide and 1 part water, and let your pots soak for about 20 to 30 minutes. This will kill pathogens without leaving any harmful residue. After soaking, give the pots a good rinse with clean water and let them dry completely before filling them with soil. This is particularly important for terracotta pots, which are porous and tend to absorb minerals, salts, and potentially harmful microorganisms over time. A hydrogen peroxide soak cleans them out far better than scrubbing with water alone. Strong roots mean strong plants. It is as simple as that. One of the best things hydrogen peroxide does in the garden is encourage healthy, robust root growth. When you add a diluted hydrogen peroxide solution to your watering routine, the extra oxygen it releases gets absorbed by the roots. That oxygen boost helps the roots expand and branch out more aggressively, which in turn allows the plant to take up more water and nutrients from the soil. The result is bigger plants, more flowers, and a better harvest. This is especially helpful for transplants that are trying to establish themselves in a new location. A hydrogen peroxide watering right after transplanting can help reduce transplant shock and get those roots growing into the surrounding soil faster. Use the same ratio, 1 TB. Finteed a recipe of 3% hydrogen peroxide per cup of water, and apply it once a week. Whether you are reusing last year's potting mix or you have brought in some compost that you are not 100% sure about, there is always a risk of introducing harmful pathogens into your garden. Bacteria, fungal spores, and pest eggs can all hitch a ride in your soil and wreak havoc on your plants. A hydrogen peroxide treatment can help sterilize your soil before planting. Spread the soil out in a container, Sprinkle it with a mixture of hydrogen peroxide and water. Let it sit for about a week, and water it a couple more times with the solution during that period. The hydrogen peroxide will kill off harmful organisms while breaking down safely into just water and oxygen. This is especially valuable for indoor growers and greenhouse gardeners, where the warm, humid conditions can turn a small contamination issue into a full-blown disaster in no time flat. A little prevention goes a long way. Now for this one, you will want to be very careful. Higher concentrations of hydrogen peroxide, around 10%, can actually be used to kill weeds. When applied directly to unwanted plants, the solution dries out and damages the plant tissue, effectively burning the weed. This can be useful for targeting weeds that pop up in sidewalk cracks, along fence lines or in gravel pathways where you do not want any plant growth at all. However, and this is important, you need to be extremely precise with your application. Hydrogen peroxide at this strength does not know the difference between a weed and your prized tomato plant. If it lands on something you want to keep, it will damage that too. For weed control, pour the solution directly onto the weed or use a small paintbrush to apply it carefully. Avoid spraying on windy days and never use this concentration on or near plants you want to protect. Stick with the standard 3% for everything else in your garden. Dusty, dirty leaves are more than just unsightly. When grime builds up on the surface of a leaf, it blocks sunlight from reaching the chlorophyll, which means the plant cannot photosynthesize as efficiently. Over time, this can slow down growth and weaken the plant. You can clean your plant leaves with a simple hydrogen peroxide solution. Mix 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide with 4 parts water and use a soft cloth or cotton pad to gently wipe down the leaves. This removes dust, dirt, and any fungal spores or pest residue that might be clinging to the surface. This is especially useful for large-leafed houseplants and greenhouse plants that do not get natural rain to wash them off. It is a quick task that makes a noticeable difference in how your plants look and grow. If you have a greenhouse, a hydroponic setup, or even just saucers and trays under your potted plants, you have probably noticed green algae forming on wet surfaces. Algae competes with your plants for nutrients, and it can create a slimy, unpleasant mess that attracts fungus, gnats, and other pests. Hydrogen peroxide is excellent at keeping algae under control. A light spray of the solution on affected surfaces, trays, or reservoirs kills algae without introducing harsh chemicals into your growing environment. For hydroponic systems, a small amount of hydrogen peroxide added to the water reservoir can keep things clean and algae-free, while also oxygenating the water for healthier roots. Use about 1 TSP of 3% hydrogen peroxide per gallon of water in hydroponic systems and spray surfaces with a slightly stronger mix as needed. It's a simple, eco-friendly way to keep your growing space clean and your plants healthy. One last thing to keep in mind, whenever you use hydrogen peroxide in the garden, always dilute it first. The standard 3% solution you find at the drugstore is your best starting point, and even that should be mixed with water before applying it to your plants. More is not better in this case. Using too strong a concentration can burn your plants and kill off the beneficial microorganisms in your soil that your garden depends on. Start with small amounts, see how your plants respond, and adjust from there. It is also a good idea to store your hydrogen peroxide properly. Keep it in its original dark bottle away from direct sunlight and heat. Hydrogen peroxide breaks down when exposed to light, which is why it comes in those brown or opaque bottles. If you mix up a batch of solution for your garden, use it the same day for the best results. It loses its potency once it has been diluted and left sitting. And honestly, it is hard to beat a garden product that costs about $1, breaks down into nothing but water and oxygen, and can do this many different jobs. From speeding up seed germination to saving a dying plant from root rot to keeping pests and diseases at bay, this one bottle can replace a whole shelf of expensive garden products. If you do not already have a bottle out in the garden shed, it is time to fix that. If this story changed the way you look at that simple brown bottle in your cabinet, please subscribe and like the video. We are uncovering the natural history and practical secrets that others might try to overlook. Let's grow a better future together. Our next garden treasure will be revealed very soon.